from Staten Island, and he's purchased 16 hope you're in the mood for diarrhea aprons, and this is what Reggie has to say.
Under Kamala Harris and the communist left, our country is under invasion. We are under invasion just like it was an army. Except in many ways it's more difficult because they don't wear a uniform. You don't know who the hell to go after.
That's Reggie from Staten Island. 16, I hope you're in the mood for diarrhea aprons. This is Simon, also from Staten Island. He bought 40. Hope you're in the mood for diarrhea aprons. Let's hear what he has to say.
Almost every single job was taken by a migrant worker, and black workers are losing their jobs to these people that are pouring into our country, and Hispanics are losing their jobs, and next will be unions.
Okay, that would be Simon from Staten Island. And next up, and finally, this is Emily Nussbaum, also of Staten Island. She bought 500 hope you're in the mood for diarrhea chef's aprons. Let's see what she has to say.
She's already talking about bringing back the draft. She wants to bring back the draft and draft your child and put him in a war that should never have happened.
Okay. All right. I'm taking animation classes, so I'm learning animation. And I don't know why, but I've been showing this on the show, and some of my listeners are complaining, and I can't tell if if they say, is this real? So I'm going to assume they just listen to the show and aren't looking at the end. I'm not that good an artist, so I'm going to assume but people are getting pissed off. I mean, I know it's probably not something I should inject into the show, that it's for my sanity. But there are some people who really hate these voices parroting Donald Trump. I don't know. For my sanity, animation. Some of my older listeners might remember from 10 years ago when I was, this is how I ruined 2 marriages. Okay. Let's get to something more serious, okay? I apologize for that. This is very serious. Kentucky State Senator, Republican Johnny Turner, is listed in critical but stable condition this week inside the University of Tennessee Medical Center in Knoxville, Tennessee, after he drove his riding mower into the deep end of an empty swimming pool over the weekend. We pray for a speedy recovery for Kentucky State Senator, Republican Johnny Turner, who drove his riding mower into the deep end of an empty swimming pool over the weekend. Sean Combs. I'm going to talk about this for a second because we can't, I don't know if, I hope this isn't true, but the human brain cannot fathom certain behavior. We deny that anybody is capable of what Jeffrey Epstein did or what Sean Combs is being accused of. Because I read this today and I went, it can't be true. This cannot possibly be true. Sean Combs, the rap artist and producer whose tentacles for more than 3 decades reached into fashion, television, and name brand liquor, arrested on Tuesday, being held without bail after federal agents charged him with running a criminal enterprise that resorted to kidnapping, arson, sex trafficking, forced labor, bribery, and obstruction of justice. I hope this isn't true. During a press conference on Tuesday, Damian Williams, the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York, charged Combs with physically and emotionally abusing women, forcing them to engage in sexual acts against their will while applying them narcotics. Williams said videotaped his victims in compromising sex acts and then threatened to release those videos to the public if his victims contacted authorities. Combs is also charged with punching and kicking women and then obstructing justice by paying off witnesses to keep their mouths shut. A search of his Los Angeles home last spring uncovered 1,000 bottles of baby oil, which prosecutors say were used as a lubricant. A search of his Miami home found 9 AR-15 style assault weapons. If you live in Miami, you hoard AR-15s. For your home in Los Angeles, you hoard baby oil. He was arrested while staying at the Park Hyatt Hotel in Midtown Manhattan, just miles away from Harlem, where he was convicted of bars. Harland and Wolff, the shipping company that built the Titanic, has filed for bankruptcy. This is shocking. I can't believe Harland and Wolff went belly up. They told me this company was unsinkable. As for paying off creditors, it will be women and children first. Donald Trump, in his new coffee table book entitled Save America, writes that Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is the son of Fidel Castro. Trump, in his new book, repeated rumors that Trudeau is the result of his mother's alleged affair with the Cuban dictator. In the book, Trump writes, quote, "He swears that he isn't Castro's son, but how the hell would he know? Castro had good hair. The father didn't. Justin has good hair and has become a communist just like Castro," unquote. Take note, those of you in the developing world, this is how world leaders build alliances. Let's get this man back in the Oval Office ASAP. Justin Trudeau is in fact the son of former Canadian Prime Minister Pierre Elliott Trudeau and Margaret Trudeau. Margaret Trudeau has spent most of her life fighting to bring potable water to and improving sanitary conditions for struggling communities around the world. She has also been an outspoken champion for those suffering from mental health disorders, like this guy, Donald Trump Jr., seen here on a hunting trip in Africa with his now deceased mother, Ivana. Is that Ivana? Is that Don Jr.? Maybe. I can't tell. Don Jr. launched into a racist tirade against Haitians who, if you haven't noticed, are now the political punching bag after J.D. Vance and then Donald Trump in last week's debate accused Haitian immigrants in Springfield, Ohio, of stealing pet cats and dogs and then eating them. During an interview with Turning Point's leader Charlie Kirk, Donald Trump Jr. said, quote, "You look at Haiti, you look at the demographic makeup, you look at the average IQ, and if you import the third world into America, you're going to turn America into the third world. That's just basic. It's not racist, it's just fact," unquote. Donald Trump Jr. saying that Haitians have lower IQs than we do. You know, Donald Trump Jr. complaining about low IQs is like Donald Trump Jr. complaining about people who rely on Adderall in the morning, 3 rails of meth in the afternoon, 10 rails of Ritalin before leaving the house, and 6 Secanols and a quarter of JD to sleep it off at night. That would be the same thing as, I'm not saying Don Jr. survives on that diet. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it wouldn't surprise me. During an interview on CNN last week, J.D. Vance blamed the spread of HIV and tuberculosis on the influx of Haitian immigrants. But as The Advocate reports, the Ohio senator offered no evidence to support that claim. because there is no evidence, which makes J.D. Vance a race-baiting, lying racist. Why would you expect any evidence to support any of J.D. Vance's claims? Vance now openly admits he's a liar and that politicians and leaders, this is what he said, must spread lies in order to draw attention to larger problems. In other words, I have to lie about the Haitians to draw attention to the problem of Haitians. 1933, Berlin. During an appearance on CNN Sunday, J.D. Vance was asked to back up his claims that Haitians in Springfield, Ohio, are eating pets. When told by Dana Bash that the governor of Ohio, Republican, and the city manager of Springfield, Ohio, and the local police in Springfield, Ohio, all say there is not a shred of evidence of Haitian immigrants eating pets in Springfield or any other city in Ohio, Vance buckled and said the following. This is what he said. This could be one of the worst things any American politician ever said. He said, quote, "The American media totally ignored this stuff until Donald Trump and I started talking about cat memes. If I have to create stories so that the American media actually pays attention to the suffering of the American people, then that's what I'm going to do. If I have to create stories so that the American media actually pays attention to the suffering of the American people, then that's what I'm going to do." And what is the suffering of the American people? Black immigrants. Harmless black immigrants. That is the suffering. When Dana Bash asked, "So you made up the story about Haitians eating pets?" J.D. Vance, racist, said, quote, "I say that we're creating a story, meaning we're creating the American media focusing on it. I didn't create 20,000 illegal migrants coming into Springfield thanks to Kamala Harris's policies. Her policies did that. But yes, we created the actual focus that allowed the American media to talk about the story and the suffering caused by Kamala Harris's policies," unquote. What a horribly dangerous fascist and racist. He sees Haitian migrants living in Ohio as a problem. He doesn't want them there. Why? Because they're black. And to draw attention to the problem of black people living in Springfield, Ohio, J.D. Vance says it's okay to lie about them, to spread falsehoods that Haitians are eating pets. Spread the lie about Haitians eating pets in order to draw attention to the problem of black people legally, not illegally, legally moving into Springfield, Ohio. One of the worst things I've ever seen in politics. He is as disgraceful as Donald Trump. This is how you get people hurt. It's also how you get people to hate and then harm minorities. You lie. 1933 Berlin, you lie. You accuse the migrants of crimes they're not committing, like smuggling fentanyl into America, which they are not. Migrants are not smuggling fentanyl. That is a lie. Or you accuse the LGBTQ community of grooming children. You spread lies about Haitians. You spread lies about migrants and members of the LGBTQ plus community so that Americans first fear, then hate, and then harm them. It doesn't get any worse than this. It really doesn't. This is exactly what Hitler did. Right now, we're looking at a prime example of stochastic terrorism. J.D. Vance and Donald Trump are tossing gasoline-soaked rags into the political arena and waiting for someone to set it on fire. And Vance knows exactly what he's doing. He knows he's spreading racist lies to further his political agenda. He said as much on CNN Sunday. Well, CNN also reports this morning that while Vance was a law student at Yale back in 2012, right after Obama defeated Mitt Romney and Republicans were performing their famous autopsy on what's wrong with our party, J.D. Vance wrote an article over at the Center for World Conflict and Peace accusing the Republican Party of being openly hostile to non-whites and alienating blacks, Latinos, and young people. He wrote that. He knows it's wrong. He also knows politically, or at least he knew in 2012, that this is a losing message. Do you remember there was an autopsy after the Republicans lost in 2012, and they decided we have to court blacks, Hispanics, and so in 2016, they nominated Donald Trump. So J.D. Vance's article, this is why he is such a monster. J.D. Vance is a monstrosity. The article he wrote was entitled, "A Blueprint for the GOP." In the article from 2012, this is what J.D. Vance wrote while he was going to Yale Law School. Quote, "A significant part of Republican immigration policy centers on the possibility of deporting 12 million people, or as Mitt Romney said, self-deporting them." He continues, "Think about it. We conservatives rightly mistrust the government to efficiently administer business loans and regulate our food supply, yet we allegedly believe that it can deport millions of unregistered aliens. The notion fails to pass the laugh test. The same can be said for too much of the Republican Party's platform," unquote. Okay. According to new reporting by CNN, 4 years ago, 4 years after he wrote that in 2012, 4 years later in 2016, He contacted the professor who published that article, and J.D. Vance asked the professor to scrub his article from the